Hi, I'm Rebecca, I'm the Psych coach, and today I'm going to be talking about the topic of self-loathing. Plenty of people don't think well of themselves, but some people really think badly of themselves, and having such a low opinion of yourself and essentially hating yourself is going to have a profound impact on how you experience life, how you feel about other people, how you feel about the world that you live in, how you feel about your life in general. It's not easy to stop hating yourself, but there are things you can do to gradually improve the opinion you have of yourself and to increase the self-love that you experience towards yourself. Listen to these 5 strategies that are encouraged to be used in various forms of psychology that you can put into place by yourself that will start having a positive impact on your self-loathing. Tip number 1 is identify the function of the behaviour. If you constantly put yourself down and tell yourself you're no good, question why. What is the purpose of that? If there is a function to it, like you think it's deserving because it acts as a punishment for something bad that you've done, if it's something you do to make yourself feel ashamed and perhaps inadequate because you think that's what you're worthy of, then you need to try and work out what the cause is and what you can do about it. The reality is, beating yourself up continually isn't going to have a healthy function in your day-to-day life. It may feel like you're deserving of it. It may feel like it's some kind of decent punishment, but it's not. All it's doing is making you miserable and making life really tough. If you decide that the function of your self-hatred isn't particularly valid, then you can start thinking about what life will be like away from such self-hatred. Try and talk yourself into reasons why there isn't a function to your self-hatred. Try and talk yourself into the benefits of having a slightly more compassionate mindset about yourself. That's what's going to help you shift the needle slightly on your self-perception. Tip number 2, write a self-acceptance statement. Self-acceptance is where we recognise we're not the best at something, we're not perfect, we might make mistakes, but that's okay. That's all part of being a human. Writing a self-acceptance statement could be along the lines of, although I feel like a failure and I feel like I've done things wrong, it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. It just means I'm fallible. It means I'm a complex human who tries sometimes but doesn't succeed. I've got plenty of good points about me. I can think of bits of my history where I've done really well at something, where I've been really nice to someone. I can think about times where I felt better about myself. Even if I've made mistakes, that's okay, because so many other people have too. A few sentences that you can have to hand, ideally on your phone, or maybe in written form if that's something you prefer, that when you're feeling really bad about yourself and you're really hating yourself, you have to confront the self-acceptance statement. What it does is it exercises a part of your brain that isn't well trodden, that isn't well exercised, that is contradicting the self-hatred thought processes. It's the one that says, actually, maybe I am okay as I am. It can be really helpful to get someone to help write a self-acceptance statement with you, but I know that could be really challenging for some people. But you could ask for a few tips. You could ask for a friend to come up with a few self-accepting statements or suggestions for what you could write, even if you don't want them to be totally involved in the process. But when you're feeling at your worst, engaging in the self-acceptance statement is what will help your brain start to exercise a slightly healthier way of thinking about yourself. Tip number 3, stop each time you notice yourself beating yourself up. It's easier said than done, because I imagine if you're watching this video, it comes pretty automatically to berate yourself, to put yourself down, to speak to yourself in really harsh terms. But you can get in the practice of stopping yourself doing that. Literally visualising a stop sign and stop. I'm not going to engage in this thought process anymore. It will be really tricky at first, and it'll be very rare that you'll be able to catch yourself doing it because you're probably doing it so much. But with practice, you will get better at simply visualising the stop sign and you not engaging in the really negative self-talk. You wouldn't talk to your friend like it, so you shouldn't be talking to yourself like it. Full stop. Once you've visualised the stop sign and you've tried as many times as you can throughout the day to disengage in your negative self-talk, you could try and shift your focus onto something else. Shift your focus onto a problem that you're currently trying to solve. Shift your focus onto some gratitude. Shift your focus onto, if you feel up to it, some self-love statements. Shift your focus onto a plan you've got for later in the day. Just shift your focus when you identify yourself engaging in the self-hatred talk. Once you visualise the stop sign, then shift focus. Tip number 4 is look for contradicting evidence of your self-hatred. That means if you constantly tell yourself, I'm no good, I'm not worthy, people don't like me, I've got nothing interesting to say, I'm not worthwhile, you need to shift your focus and look at all the evidence that contradicts your theory. What happens when we've got theories about ourselves is we become hyper-vigilant to all the other things in our life that reinforce that theory. What was the far healthier thing to do is to shift your focus and look for all the evidence that disproves your theory. So if you feel really bad about yourself and you constantly, without realising, look at all the signs that you are deserving of hating yourself and you should hate yourself and you're no good, your goal is to look for evidence to the contrary. That could be a smile from a stranger, someone saying thank you for what you've done to help them, a personal success that you may have achieved, something that you've done that you've never done before, an encounter with a friend where they said they felt better having spoken to you, an online chat where someone wanted to carry on the conversation with you. The lists are endless of evidence that proves that you are worthy and you are a decent person. So try and look for that. Have it as your intention every single day that you are going to look for evidence that disproves your self-hatred theory. Again, this stuff takes practice, but it will become easier. And tip number 5 is to look after your physical self, to eat healthily, to exercise where you can, even if it's just a bit of a stretch in the morning, a few minutes stretching in the morning, to look after your skin, your hair, your nails, your physical body. Because if you can look after your physical body, you are giving a message to yourself of, I am worth caring for, I am worth looking after. And that can start really small. It could be about you thinking, no, do you know what, I'm not going to finish that entire chocolate bar because I'm just going to feel even worse about myself. And actually, if I can leave a few squares, that's a big triumph and a step forward in the right direction to self-care. Or it could be that you will take a couple of minutes out in the morning to just do a bit of stretching. Again, that's giving a message to yourself of actually, I'm worth looking after, I'm worth caring about. And those slight shifts in looking after your physical self will help the way you start thinking about yourself. They'll help you start thinking in a more positive way. Making a shift from not drinking fizzy drinks to a bit more water, that's a positive step in the self-care direction. And when we behave positively, we start thinking about ourselves more positively. So look after your physical self in whichever way you feel able to do. Start small. It's a really long journey to start developing a more self-accepting way of thinking about yourself and to stop the self-hatred. But it is possible and it starts small. So put these things into practice, review how you're doing. It's going to be tricky, but trust that the function of all the behaviours I've suggested are far, far more beneficial than the constant self-flagellation you're doing at the moment. If you've enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll be sure to give you plenty more tips on how to use psychology to improve your overall day-to-day life.